Typically, I promise to give you guys a video updating the 2018 Senate elections every beginning of the month, and I'm going to do that in July. But we've seen new polls, 3 new polls that just came out in 3 battleground states: Arizona, Texas, and Florida. Texas arguably being a battleground state or not, with new polls that all favor. One poll favors the Democrats and the other 2 favor the Republicans, and they're not necessarily in the states you might think they would be in. So looking at the 2018 Senate map, we're starting to see a drastic pull away from the Democratic Party. Democrats were at a much better standing at taking back the House. The House, yes, included, but we're talking about the Senate. They were at a much better stance at possibly tying or even taking the majority in the Senate, and now it's looking a lot worse for them. Looking at opinion polls, looking at the approval rating of the president and the generic ballot, they're looking good in the House. They possibly could win back the House of Representatives, but the Senate is looking less and less likely as the days move on. So 3 new polls just came out, and we're going to go through them right now. So Florida, Rick Scott leads Senator Bill Nelson by 5%. Keep in mind, Rick Scott is the incumbent GOP governor. Both of them are scoring under 50%, which means there's a considerable amount of undecided voters. But Rick's got right now a 5% lead with a number of undecided voters. A number of those undecided voters are still conservatives and Republicans at heart and are probably going to come back to the GOP if Trump gets his act together, in their view. And a number of these race changes, looking at this map right here, we're seeing a lot more battleground states and a lot more Democratic states that should be safe Democratic, safe states like New Jersey or Pennsylvania or Michigan with 3, not for the case of New Jersey, but popular incumbents or Democratic states that have Democratic incumbents. These states shouldn't be toss-ups. And when we're looking at a number of these swing states, a little bit more of them have been turning a little bit more red. So looking at these polls, again, another poll out of Texas, Ted Cruz leads his Democratic challenger by 10%. That's considerable considering it went from 3% to 7% and now 10%. So clearly he's doing a lot better in the state of Texas, and Democrats are pouring a lot of funds in a state. They may not even win. It may even lose by double digits. Whereas Arizona is the little silver lining for Democrats. This is a state with a Republican incumbent. The Republicans have had seats here for many years. They have a possibility of actually becoming the majority when it comes to House members out of the state of Arizona in 2018. And now all of a sudden Arizona could have a Democratic senator. So that's good for Democrats, but when it comes to other typical swing states, it's not good news based off the polls. So the polling data in Arizona suggests that Kristen Sinema leads Martha McSally by 8% and then leads former Sheriff Joe Arpaio by 20%. So clearly the Democrats are in the favorite to win the Arizona Senate race right now. Again, neither of them are over 50%. So again, a number of undecided voters, but still that's mild good news for the Democrats. But looking at the map, it's also not the best. So looking at these race ratings, if Democrats want any shot at winning back the control of the United States Senate, they're going to need to hold on to almost every race. Okay, looking at the poll numbers, that would arguably give Rick Scott the win in Florida. If he wins in Florida, the Republicans win the majority. They hold the majority because of Vice President Mike Pence. Okay, Rick Scott would carry the state of Florida, and then that's it for Democrats. You could argue Tennessee would be a toss-up. New polling data shows Phil Bredesen consistently ahead, but again, that under 50% mark is why this state is not a toss-up. They're expecting a number of those undecided voters to come over for Marsha Blackburn, as they did for Donald Trump in some opinion polling in Tennessee, which didn't show him winning as much as he did in the 2016 election. Keep in mind a number of those independents and undecided voters are just that in name only. They're typical conservatives who just don't know whether or not they're going to support or go against from the president. And looking at President Trump's approval rating, you can kind of expect them to go back to him. I mean, he's at one of the highest points when it comes to his approval rating in a while. Yes, he did reach around the same point, but keep in mind this is between May and June. The rest of these margins have been down in the 30% marks or barely in the 40s. And looking at a number of these polls, well, Gallup, this is one that's consistently had him around 35%. And now all of a sudden, at one point it was at 45%, 50%. That was the best time for Trump. Okay, yes, it's gone back up. Oops, my bad. But yeah, so yes, it's gone back up, and that's not good news for the Democrats. I mean, yes, he was at his super high point with the whole North Korean thing. Okay, this would have been his peak time. Donald Trump had a peak time in 2016 and still was able to win the election. This is not good considering that a number of these other polls had him under 40%, around 35%. And when they did daily polls back in early 2017, that was even worse for the president. So, yes, he has a 41% approval rating, but this is Gallup, which is typically underestimating the president and is usually adjusted to a more fair statement, 42% for the president. But again, looking at this approval rating, 42.3% compared to around 39%, 40%, and other times 37, 38%, at a time 36%. And now it's not looking so good when it comes to just focusing against an anti-Trump message for Democrats to win in the midterm year. So 51.6% disapproval rating, which means America is still against the president when it comes to that. But if we're underestimating him like we did in 2016, it could actually be under 50%. Whereas before, it was not within the margin of error. When it was out 56, 55%, it was not within the margin of error. Now it is. And looking at the Senate map and looking at the Senate ratings, which is something to note, it's not good for Democrats. Arizona and Nevada are literally the only two states that are toss-ups that have Republican incumbents. Tennessee could become a toss-up state, but right now, 2 out of the 3 major political pundit research centers show Tennessee as a lean red state. The Cook Political Report shows it as a toss-up, which I agree with a little bit more than said election since about a crystal ball. But I would also say that it's arguably going to be a red state. Yes, he's leading in opinion polling, but that opinion polling, again, is under 50%. We don't have a point where Phil Bredesen gets 52% and Marsha Blackburn gets 48%, because then it would start to lean in the Democrats' favor. Now he's at like 46%. She's at 42, She's at 40. He's at 45. So 5 to even 10-point leads at sometimes. He still hasn't reached that 50% mark, and that's not good for the Democrats, considering this is such a Republican state that a number of those undecided voters may seem like they're undecided now, but are going to come back and be Republican voters. And looking at this map, again, if Tennessee becomes a toss-up state, Democrats are back in the running for the majority, but they're not leading in North Dakota. They're not leading in Missouri. They're barely holding out an edge in West Virginia. It's arguably Republican or Democratic in Indiana, but it won't make a difference, considering if they can win Indiana, they can win West Virginia, they can win Tennessee, they can win Arizona, they can win Nevada. They could even win Florida or North Dakota. But if they lose any of their seats where they have incumbents, they're probably not going to take back the majority. Let's say, again, Democrats win in Tennessee. Democrats win in Arizona, where they're currently leading. Democrats win in Nevada, where they're arguably leading just based off tomorrow for that, based off opinion polling data and the 2016 election. That still puts them at 49. With new data out of Florida, with new data out of North Dakota, out of Missouri, out of Texas, we could see these states going to the GOP. Let's say Bill Nelson still holds on to Florida. The Republicans still hold the majority. So it's definitely an uphill climb. And that's assuming that Democrats take Tennessee. If that one goes red, it's gone for the Democrats completely. They have no chances. The same composition as it is now. Nothing changes in the Senate. Let's say Heidi Heitkamp holds out to North Dakota. That puts the Democrats at a 50-50 standing. They would need to win in Missouri, which is possible but not likely. Tennessee, which is possible but not likely. Florida, which is possible but right now isn't likely. Democrats could actually end up losing seats in the Senate and not gaining any. And that's not good for Democrats. Yes, they could improve on a national vote and could get more voters, but keep in mind that would be coming out of states like California, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, even Texas, just adding to that Democratic count nationwide. And it may not reflect what we see on the map, because Republicans could actually end up gaining seats, which is something you might see in July when I do my first video for the month about the Senate and the governor ratings and Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump again. Also, speaking of Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump, I'll mention this at the end of the video. There's a new poll out in the community tab where you can vote between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump in each state. So if you want to go check that out and you didn't get to vote in the Joe Biden versus Trump election, go check that out in the community tab. I'm going to do a 2018 Senate one as well, where you guys decide the results on who you think would win. And that should actually be pretty interesting, because that one I think is actually more of an issue that divides us a little bit more, because this is a midterm year and it's not reflective on the president or one candidate. It's over 100 candidates, and almost a number of these states have multiple candidates. I haven't won primaries yet. Also, tomorrow's primary day for my state, so I may or may not be. I'm going to try to do live coverage. I will be at a swim meet most of the night. By most of the night, I mean I'll probably get home around 8 to 9. So, again, it's a little iffy. I'll try to do my best, but let's just hope I can do live coverage, and we're going to see how my new entire theme turns out, because I actually figured out how to use OBS thanks to a number of you. So yeah, little getting off topic here. These ratings are not good for the Democrats, because states like Missouri shouldn't be toss-ups. States like Montana shouldn't be tilt or leaning only. North Dakota should not be a toss-up. West Virginia should not be a toss-up. Wisconsin should be safe. Michigan should be safe. New Jersey should be safe. Okay, Pennsylvania should be safe. Florida should not be a toss-up. Indiana should not be a toss-up. And Democrats are a little bit narrowing. Okay, at a point, they were gaining their lead back. They were on track, and now they're getting back down probably because of immigration or other issues that are impacting the country. And all of these states that are toss-ups, if they go to the Republicans, that pushes them over the top. Every single toss-up state, if one of them goes to the Republicans, they hold the majority. Democrats need to win all of them in order to win back the majority. And so far, new polling data suggests that the Republicans may actually gain seats, not lose. So, yes, Democrats could see a wave in the House, but the Senate's getting more and more out of reach, with President Trump's approval rating going up, the Democrats going down, and the candidates the GOP is drafting actually might make a positive impact on their party compared to people like Don Blankenship, who possibly could have won a couple months ago. So the GOP is putting up a strong front. I'm not saying they're going to win seats, and I'm not saying they're going to lose any just yet. You'll see that in my Senate prediction soon. But right now, all signs point towards a shift in the favor of the GOP as of right now, which is not good for the Democratic Party and their hopes of a blue wave. So thank you guys for watching this video. I'm going to have in the community tab again, you're going to go and see a Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump Google form where you can actually vote. If you didn't vote before, you can do that again. And probably tomorrow I'm going to drop a 2018 Senate subscriber decision map where you guys can vote, and I'll make an election night out of that based on who you guys think would win in each specific state. So again, thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I'll see you all tomorrow.